Alright, man. What's going on, YouTube? It's your boy Key coming at y'all. Oh no. Hold on. I just came up with this last video. We got started over one more time. Oh, fuck. What's going on, YouTube? It's your boy KeeReacts coming at y'all boys with another visual. I completely screwed up the intro. It is what it is. We back, man. Now, this video, we taking a trip to Detroit, man. We finna go see what's the real story behind Tee Grizzly come up. How did Tee Grizzly become who he is today? He had to go through things to get to where he at. His sacrifices and trials and tribulations to anything in life. And with that being said, man, we're gonna go ahead and jump into this video. Make sure y'all boys like, comment, subscribe. We on the road to 250 subscribers. We're going fast, we're going quick. And with that being said, I gotta keep dropping these visuals for y'all. So let's go ahead and let's do it.
2015, federal and state authorities in Detroit, Michigan rounded up 5 members of a gang called Related Through Money, or RTM, on charges of racketeering, murder, and robbery. The defendants were all young men in their 20s, tied together through not just their neighborhood, but a shared experience of growing up in one of America's roughest cities. The indictment and underlying investigation was replete with shocking crimes and havoc. From the young boy who accidentally killed his 11-year-old best friend with his dad's pistol, to the teen who was gunned down by people he had once trusted, to the 74-year-old man killed during a robbery on his own driveway.
Damn.
But the case was hardly a blip on anyone's radar and barely broke through the local media circuit.
So the murders ain't
This was
they
Detroit, after all.
Giraffes.
A city where the homicide rate was often close to touching 1 per day on average, and where gangs sprung up faster than the cops could take them down.
Holy shit.
And this particular group, RTM, hardly carried the national name recognition of a gang like the Bloods, Crips, Mexican Mafia, Latin Kings, or Aryan Brotherhood, for instance. Most locals probably skimmed an article on their phones and went about their day, unaware that through a quirk of fate, the name Related Through Money would soon be heard across every corner of America.
I remember that lyric. What you know about Related Through Money? I don't know
man
nothing.
Whose rags to riches story is one of the most unlikely of its kind in recent memory.
Yeah.
If you stopped time on November 6th, 2016, and took a look at the life of Terry Sanchez Wallace Jr., you'd be looking back on 2 decades filled with hardship, trauma, tragedy, squandered opportunity, and incarceration. By his 22nd birthday, Terry Wallace had lost close family members to violence that continues to plague Detroit. His mother, brother, and several friends to prison, and he'd blown what had appeared to be his best chance to escape poverty by trading in college textbooks and dorm living for the harsh day-to-day life of a state prison cell block. Ooh. But the thing is,
that nigga look young,
when it came to shaping Wallace's
hair was
future,
always wild
none of these horrible experiences mattered.
Look at that.
That's because on the very next day, November 7th, 2016, Terry Sanchez Wallace Jr. released the song First Day Out.
Fucking crazy.
And became the first rap artist that millions know today as Tee Grizzly. The single went viral, catapulting Wallace into fame and fortune faster than a first-round NFL draft pick, and changing the lives of Wallace and his family forever. Within 10 weeks, he'd gone from being barely more than a kid with long-shot aspirations to signing a lucrative deal with the rap industry powerhouse 300 Entertainment. He would go on to record hit singles, multi-platinum albums, and use his charisma to amass an equal, if not greater, fortune through gaming on Twitch streams. And as even casual fans of his music should know, he has not lost sight of just how fortunate he is. But if you listen carefully to Tee Grizzly's music, you'll hear him drop more than a few hints at just how closely he came to derailing his own life in those first 22 years. Starting with his very first big song, Tee Grizzly decided to pack his music with references to real life, including that April 2015 indictment that placed him and many of his childhood peers on divergent paths. Sometimes these references are blatant. Other times you really have to know what to look for. But put together, they paint a picture of a young man who faced 2 possible courses in life: one leading to wealth and fame, the other leading to something much darker.
Yeah.
This is the story of Related Through Money, and the despair of a place ironically known as Joy Road.
We're in the heart of
Today's
Detroit,
episode
man.
centers on a 1 square mile section of northwest Detroit. Almost a perfect box between the Southfield Freeway to the east, Greenfield Road to the west, Plymouth Road to the north, and most significantly, Joy Road to the south.
It's a lot of long
It is a
roads.
section of town that has been referred to by locals for decades as the Scud Zone, or the Scuddy Zone. And it is here that Terry Sanchez Wallace Jr. and his brother, Marcellus Wallace, aka Baby Grizzly, and their peers in this tale
That
all
came
come
deep,
from.
boy.
Years later, their mother would state in an online interview that Scud refers to a slang term for marijuana.
And we used to call,
I ain't gonna lie, grandma.
Scuds.
I mean, I want to call grandma.
I hear, you know,
My
they made this
dude
name out of
skin's
Scuds on it.
glowing.
But a defense lawyer named Jeffrey Edison once remarked that the name Scud Zone fits this part of Detroit for a more jarring reason. Quote, "That area looks like it's been devastated by Scud missiles."
That's fucked up.
In Detroit, a 5-year study found that from 2011 to 2015, more than half the residents lived in what's called concentrated poverty. Basically a term for when there's almost no money in the local economy.
Sheesh.
Shops would open, last less than a year, and shut down. The murder rate in Detroit frequently placed it near the top of America's 10 most violent cities.
Shit ain't no game.
In the Scud Zone, nearly every residential block has at least one abandoned home. The local high school, Cody High, often battled a graduation rate around 50%,
Eesh.
basically meaning that any given student was just as likely to drop out as they were to graduate. And from the looks of this news
Gotta
report,
get up out of there.
it was more poorly maintained than many prisons.
But how can you expect somebody to come up out of this and grow into something? Like you could see, like if this is how they high school look. The tiles is cracked up. They're supposed to be white. They yellow and brown. They coming up off the floor. The ceiling is leaking wet. Like Detroit is a lost city. If this is how they high schools is coming, and you expect that people to come up and come through here and actually do something, it's crazy. Most people are going to end up on that wrong path. It's going to be like 1% who going to figure out something to get them up out the city. Because you like, how are you going to, if you're not on the Detroit Lions, the Detroit goddamn Pistons, or a business owner or something like that, why are you in Detroit, bro? It's nothing there.
Like, it's kind of really hard to focus on the teacher and pay attention when I'm trying to get knocked out by a ceiling tile every 5 minutes.
We should not be sitting in school and have to like hold our books on top of our head so a ceiling won't fall. Like, you can literally hear the ceilings cracking.
It was against this backdrop that in 2011,
Shit,
a group of teen
devastating.
boys from the area formed RTM as a union of several subsidiary gangs, each of whom brought a CEO to the table from a respective subgroup. When RTM was indicted in 2015, the feds did make some passing references to drug sales and that kind of activity, but focused much more heavily on a more disturbing pattern. Members of RTM were pulling off robberies left and right with efficiency, targeting not just individuals, but stores with high-value items.
That's Cartier.
In fact, a particularly dangerous strategy was for RTM members to travel to faraway jewelry stores, often by crossing
Smash
state
and grab.
lines, walk in carrying a mallet or a sledgehammer, and simply smashing cases, grabbing what they could, and running out like hell to a waiting getaway car. Despite this simplicity, the gang was able to pull off Rolex robberies in this fashion time and time
shit.
again, not seeming to care much about the potential for being caught by surveillance cameras or employee resistance. They simply weren't afraid to take what they wanted.
Take that risk.
RTM also maintained beefs with gangs whose territories neighbored the Scuddy Zone and beyond. The indictment contained a laundry list of rivals to RTM, like the TMCNE, Too Much Case Never End,
What?
Young Paid Bosses, Young Gutta Boys, Black Boys Cash Out, and Trust No One. But above all, their rivals were Band Crew, a larger gang that,
Band
like
Crew.
RTM, was a confederacy of smaller groups
Hold
from
on, I think I
northwest
heard of
Detroit,
them.
based in a nearby neighborhood along 7 Mile and 8 Mile
Ooh.
roads. Some of the gangs that
Damn.
made up the Band Crew had been rivals, But in 2011, they
This nigga
decided
in
to
that-
call a
in
peace
that-
summit
in that
of
hoodie
sorts
says, "Fuck
at a
that."
local Burger King and agreed to come together under a single banner. This set up a long-term clash with RTM that predictably led to tragedy after tragedy. T. Grizzly and his brother, Marcellus, grew up in this environment, where day-to-day living is a constant struggle for many. As the older brother, T. Grizzly was born to a teenage
His
mother
mama
who
looked good,
frequently
bro.
got into trouble with law enforcement, sometimes in ways that were blamed on the boy's father, Terry Wallace Sr. In August 1996, T. Grizzly and Baby Grizzly, aged 2 and 4 at the time respectively, were detained along with their mother in a police raid at an Indiana residence.
Bro, if you don't get your ass
Arrested
to that
for
door-
allegedly possessing cocaine, their mother asked the police at the station to please find some food for her young boys. When they did, she was somehow able to slip her handcuffs and run off, leading to an escape charge. She was sentenced to prison
shit.
in 1999 when the boys were barely school-aged and didn't get out until 4 years later.
So they growing
In
up missing their
2010,
mama.
when T. Grizzly was a teen attending Cody High School,
Where's T at?
and
Oh,
his
he right
younger
there.
brother was just 13, their mother would be sentenced to prison for allegedly selling crack cocaine to an undercover
Damn!
officer on several occasions.
Several?
With their mom behind bars again,
Yeah.
the boys attempted to navigate
No offense, T. Grizzly. I know this your life story. Your mama could have got hit. Hey, look. I'm keeping it a
this new
bean.
reality. Years later, Baby Grizzly's attorney would recall that he was, quote, an aimless teenager wandering around Warwick and Constance in Detroit with BB guns, surrounded by gang influence, drug dealers, and other dangers many would never understand. Somehow, things would only get worse from there.
Came up in them
The
trenches,
boy's
boy.
uncle, DeMario, was shot and killed outside of a nightclub on Joy Road in early 2011, just a few months
But
after their mother's arrest.
One thing that needs to be highlighted is how much people emphasize these streets and these blocks, even though they've lost so much. You would think people would be like, man, I ain't going over there. I ain't doing this. I ain't doing that. My uncle, my homie, my uncle got killed over there. This, that, and the third. They banging these blocks like they own them.
In March 2012, a beloved teacher at Cody High School was killed in his own
Damn.
home. And T. Grizzly, then just a junior, was quoted in the local newspaper saying, quote, he told me if I wanted to succeed, I have to stop playing around and be determined and set and accomplish my goals. 4 months after that, the boy's father, Terry Wallace Sr., would be gunned down in 2012.
Rest in peace, man.
One night Suge called me. Thought it was my pops calling. He couldn't even talk through the tears. He say, nigga, your daddy got shot. Police won't give us no information. And they say he the only one hit.
By the way, it appears that all 3 of these murder investigations remain
Oh,
open.
shit.
Finally, in 2015, Baby Grizzly was incarcerated at just 17 years old and wouldn't get out of prison until 2020, when his older brother had become an international rap star.
That's a good way to come
By
home,
then,
though.
the boy's aunt and manager, Jabina Brown, had been gunned down
No.
in what was widely believed to be a failed attempt on T. Grizzly's life.
Where was she killed at?
T would describe the shooting and his emotions in the song Satish,
Sadish.
his aunt Jabina's middle name.
You make it out these streets, you saw it wasn't me and still shot. What she do to you? We was just winning, now I'm crying at your funeral, but every tear I shed.
While this type of childhood sounds
he said he knew they wasn't
particularly
him.
horrid, it wasn't outside the ordinary when compared to the biographies of the young men who were caught up in the RTM indictment. When these defendants went public with details of their
Damn, what the
upbringings
fuck?
as a last-ditch resort to argue for lesser prison sentences,
Dope house.
they told a story of having drug-addicted parents, broken homes, and being witnesses to extreme violence and or familial incarceration from a young age onward. This brings us to 2015 and the RTM indictment. At the time that his case was handed down by a federal grand jury, T. Grizzly was behind bars facing
That
a
nigga big as
sentence of
hell.
between 18 months and 20 years. He'd eventually get released in October 2016, a month before his life-changing success with the aptly titled single, First
Yeah,
Day
that's
Out.
crazy, bro. That's
As a
like
nation
the
of
best
hip-hop
song.
fans, we'd hardly
You got
gotten
it,
to
really.
know T as a rapper before he brought up the fact that the feds, as he put it, had at one point tried to loop him into this case. In the song, he denies being a part of RTM, as he has done over and over in interviews and other songs.
Smell feds was on me. What you know about
I told y'all.
money? I don't know nothing. I just
Hop
used to
over,
see him
bitch.
walk to
My
the
body
Coney.
can't
I
go
fuck with
Persian code.
In a subsequent single, Straight to It, T brings this up again, posing a question in the third person that he's clearly heard before. How'd T get out of that RTM indictment? His response is blunt.
How that nigga T get out that RTM indictment? What? I wasn't on that case. Keep your quiet. When that smoke
Bro, he's a young nigga at
But
that
on
time.
yet another of one of his more successful songs, a smash single called
Oh, yeah.
No Effort, released shortly after First Day Out, T Grizzly seems to refer to the RTM indictment again, but uses the pronoun we when referring to the group that got indicted.
Was you watching the news? You saw them indictments. Last again we was beefing with, and I can't even think of what cemetery them again that. It'll come to me later.
So what
didn't
was the
say we,
RTM
though.
indictment? It was a RICO case, targeting 7 alleged members of Related Through Money, with evidence including but not limited to Facebook posts
Telling
and
on
digital
yourself.
surveillance, as well as, crucially, the word of a person known only as an RTM member A, who had plotted robberies and other violence with the gang.
Oh, they got a snitch on the case, and it, hey man, could T Grizzly be the snitch? Holy shit, that took a turn.
But at some point decided to flip and tell all he knew to the feds. This person's identity is more than likely known to RTM, but his name was never revealed publicly because this case never went to trial.
Damn!
The indictment refers to him as someone who plotted numerous jewelry store robberies, even hosting a meeting at his home to discuss a trip to Ohio for such a heist in November 2014. The 7 defendants included Deontay Matthews, aka CEO Tay, the alleged leader of RTM, as well as Mayor Thedford, Brandon Sims, aka B, Brandon Owens, aka Lil B, Antoine Foster Stockton, aka Twan,
Ooh.
Deontay McDonald, and finally Gino Solomon, a young man who prosecutors alleged was responsible for 2 shooting
they threw
deaths
2 bodies
by the
on
time
him.
he turned 20.
I'm
CEO
interested.
Tay's life, up to that point, had closely mirrored T Grizzly's. A panel of federal judges would later describe him as a smart and ambitious young man who'd graduated high school and attended some college by the time he was picked up on this case. The court even lauded.
So, but is T Grizzly? They say it mirrors each other, but is he basically trying to act like he is this guy, Deontay Matthews? While he locked up doing his time, he out here living Deontay Matthews' life as a rapper.
His intellect by noting that he'd used his natural leadership skills to rise to the top of RTM. But he stood accused of a shocking crime. The feds claimed that they could prove he ordered a hit on a member of the band crew, then carried it out himself, pulling up alongside the 16-year-old victim, shooting him enough to kill him several times over, then returning to a waiting Impala and stating simply, "We even." Deontay Matthews vehemently denied this accusation, and his lawyers moved to free him from jail, which is when the feds revealed that they'd tied Deontay to other serious crimes. He'd been caught with firearms on numerous occasions, and soon after catching a prior gun case, once boldly posted online, "You know I got the strap to feds."
Bro,
But he'd also been tied to
y'all
robberies
niggas
that
going
fit
in
a
here with
particular
masks,
pattern
no
that typified
masks.
RMT heists. Specifically, prosecutors said they had proof that Deontay Matthews had scoped out a jewelry pawn shop in Lexington, Kentucky,
no, I heard this.
called the
I heard
Castle
this.
on July 1st, 2014. But Matthews' movements in the store had alerted the manager, and when the 3 RTM members came in, he was ready. He pulled a gun out, held the men at gunpoint, and called the cops, who brought the 3 would-be robbers up on felony charges. Their names were Dwan Harris, Theo Watts, and Terry Sanchez Wallace Jr., aka T Grizzly.
His
While they were
blockhead
getting
ass.
arrested,
Y'all ever
Deontay
seen Recess?
Matthews
The big white dude. He built just like him. He just black.
away. An interesting side note: when T Grizzly recounts this story, he says it was a customer, not the manager, who in fact held them at gunpoint, and that he could tell by looking in the man's eyes he was searching for an excuse to shoot them. T and the others were charged with the castle robbery, and Wallace also faced a case back in Michigan for a much larger theft ring based at the university he attended. He'd go on to be sentenced to prison for both. But maybe because his case was processed so quickly, the feds didn't include him or his 2 Lexington co-defendants on the RTM indictment, even though the castle robbery was mentioned in the indictment as a predicate act for the RICO charge. When he was released, T. Grizzly shouted out his 2 co-defendants on first day out and expressed surprise that they'd all made it out of that situation despite the stressors of being in court.
This shit hit hard every time you hear it, bro.
Here's a video in 2013, before the indictments, before the pretrial hearings, the status conferences, and impact statements. Back then, T had not yet attached the word Grizzly to his stage name, but his lyrical talent
These niggas out there
was
like
still
they in
clear.
Chicago.
If you pay attention to his shirt, you'll notice it includes the name Band Crew and rest in peace tributes to 2 members, Lil D and Squid. T is wearing this apparently as an ironic taunt, or to signify that this shirt was stolen from a rival. But the significance of one of those names, Squid, weighed heavily in the RTM case. Squid was 16-year-old Marcus Cole,
That's
a
the dude who
Northwest
they
Detroit
say.
native who at one point was a trusted friend of many
That's what
in
I'm
RTM.
saying.
His childhood companions included Gino Solomon, a young man with one of the most shocking and unfortunate pasts of anyone we're covering today. Gino Solomon Jr. first made headlines in 2008 when he was just 12 years old, hanging out at his house with his best friend, Corey Merriweather. They came across a pistol that belonged to Gino's dad and started playing around with the unsecured weapon. It went off, and a bullet struck young Corey in the chest. He was able to run to his house and collapsed in front of his grandfather, then died a short time later. Both Gino and his father were arrested.
Yeah, that's neglect, my
Gino's
boy.
tumultuous life never really evened out from there, spending the rest of his childhood either locked up or in juvenile
So he went
diversion
in and out.
centers.
He was
Gino
11.
was arrested for setting a
Damn,
classmate's
this nigga's a
hair on fire
demon.
in 2010. He hardly saw his dad for the rest of his childhood either, except for one notable time, at age 16, when his dad was charged with federal gun possession for weapons found inside his home, and called Gino as a witness to testify on his behalf. On the stand, 16-year-old Gino took full responsibility for the guns being in his dad's house. He explained that when he was just 15, a good friend named Squid had dropped off guns at Gino's home and asked him to hide them. Gino obliged and explained that he had hidden them so well that even his father hadn't found them. Squid, aka Marcus Cole, never returned to pick up the weapons because at age 16, he was murdered by a member of RTM after distancing himself from the gang and aligning with
So he started
Band
hanging with
Crew
the ops.
instead. Making matters worse, on April 2nd, 2012, Squid allegedly shot RTM member Josh
and he
Ward
caught a
in the
body.
face
No,
during a fight,
he just shot him.
obviously drawing RTM's ire. Brandon Owens would later write a Facebook message suggesting that he drove by Squid 10 days after the shooting of Moore. And would have handled the situation.
I seen Squid, but Theo had my mag. Now you should have had that bitch. He gotta die. He gonna bust Josh, then walk through the hood. Hell yeah, I would have shot that nigga. I told Theo earlier, bring my shit. Squid ain't dead because of Theo on the team. Bro, they texting this shit. Facebook.
Except that he didn't have a firearm. But RTM would catch up to Squid just weeks later, in May 2012.
It's too hot.
And he would be shot 8 times.
You going
on
to
Detroit
your ops
sidewalk
hood, bro. I
and
think you
killed.
just shot one of them. It's crazy.
As mentioned, the feds blamed Deontay Matthews for this, which led to an interesting legal dispute we'll address later. Though Owens said he missed the chance to fire at Squid, at a large brawl outside of a nightclub on March 22nd, 2013,
Damn.
Owens would take aim at a rival and fire, only to have one of his own friends, a man named Franklin Wallace, step in front of the gun at the worst time and take a bullet to the back of the head that was meant for someone else.
No, man. He
Owens-
just off this homie trying to up on somebody else. Headshot. Damn near executed him, bro.
later express remorse for what happened and say the incident led him
Nigga,
to
it's
try
too
to make a
late.
change in his life. But on the other hand, after learning that a Cody High School student had witnessed Owens pull the trigger and kill Franklin, several RTM members showed up at the school in full force, standing outside a classroom screaming, "RTM for life."
Y'all niggas doing too much.
As Owens waved a pistol in a clear attempt to intimidate this teenager into silence. Both the homicides of Marcus Cole and Franklin Wallace occurred when Gino was in juvenile detention. And when he testified for his father in May 2013, he explained that killing his friend by accident had deeply affected him. Quote, "I knew what guns could do, and I wasn't playful with
But
guns
I mean,
no
man,
more."
it's too late. Them know.
Gino's testimony failed to convince jurors, who convicted his dad. But Gino was released just a few weeks after his dad's trial. In June 2013, he was free and out in Detroit.
That's
with
worse,
little to no
bro.
supervision.
He finna get overly wild.
On June 5th, he and RTM members Deontay McDonald and Darren Hartley went out on a wild crime spree, carjacking one man for a Chevy Impala, then using the car to search for more victims. They found a woman and demanded her Ford Taurus, got behind the wheel of the Taurus, attempted to make a getaway, crashed, and totaled the
Stole her
Taurus,
car
then ran back to the
just to
originally
total it.
carjacked Impala and drove off once again. The whole time, Gino was armed with a .22 caliber firearm. Next,
So that's
three
armed
teens
robbery.
arrived at the home of 73-year-old Cleveland Hall, a longtime Detroit resident who went by Kenny. They tried to rob him, but Hall had been around the block, and he was packing his own .38 caliber pistol. In the struggle that ensued between Gino and Hall, one of their guns discharged, and Hall was killed. Still not yet an adult, Gino was now responsible for 2 shooting deaths.
Damn.
All of this gave the U.S. Department of Justice 3 murders and a whole lot of robberies to throw at
But I mean,
RTM.
most of them are by. Oh, no,
And
he was
not
with 2
one
people.
of the 7 defendants opted to take his case to trial. Instead, they'd each go before a judge to plead guilty
Holy
and receive
fuck.
decades in prison. Deontay tried to take back his guilty plea after learning that it included a clause that he could be held legally responsible for killing Squid, a murder he still maintains he didn't do. Just last year, Deontay resumed his efforts to get out of prison, writing that he had become certified in plumbing, electricity, masonry, carpentry, and roofing,
It
and
don't
had taken
take
victim
away
impact
what you
classes.
did, especially if you got
Quote,
a body on your
Prior
shit.
to being imprisoned, I was young, naive, and
But look,
misled by
though,
my perception of life.
They can
My
say
bad
what they
choice-
want to say. I regret. I wish I never did it. I repent. I don't want to. Nigga, you just mad because you in jail. It has nothing to do with what's actually going on in your life at this point in time. You just mad that you got caught up and you in jail. Point blank, period. You feel me? And with that being said, bro, you'll do everything in your power to go to jail. And as soon as you get there, you got the biggest issue with being where you wanted to be at. That's where you wanted to be. Had to. You don't kill people, steal cars, rob people, and do all this, that, and the third with thinking that you're never gonna go to jail. What, you thought you was gonna die first or something? If you don't die, they coming to get you. Straight up.
Which I regret will never be repeated. Daily, I've been working on myself. As of this recording, Deontay is scheduled to get out.
Oh shit,
in
he got another
2035.
11 years.
As for T. Grizzly, the newfound fame and fortune paved the way for his little brother, who finally found himself a free man for the first time in his adult life.
How many times he
in
did?
late 2020. With T. Grizzly's assistance, Baby Grizzly broke his way into the rap world and quickly signed a $300,000 deal with T's label, 300 Entertainment. His future finally looked bright, but the success would be short-lived.
Uh-oh.
In December 2020, roughly 5 weeks after his release from prison, Baby Grizzly and 2 others were pulled over in the backseat of a white Maserati in Royal Oak, Michigan,
Oh, that's what he was saying.
for a minor traffic infraction. When police began questioning the driver, Anthony Miranda, about whether he'd been drinking due to a red Solo cup being in a cup holder, Baby Grizzly and another passenger stepped up and admitted to sipping whiskey in the back seat. The cops pulled everyone out of the car to search it, and found 4
No.
guns, enough to charge both Baby Grizzly and passenger Nolan Dasgupta Francis, aka Nolo. Alone in the back seat with his driver, Baby Grizzly explained that he'd be going to prison for years for the guns, while Anthony Miranda would only do a few months because of his clean record, and that if he took the heat, that he'd be paid $20,000 for his troubles.
That guy shit.
You gonna take the case for us? You gonna get 5 years.
You?
Yeah.
Is that clear? What do you want to do?
I need you to tell them they yours.
No way. Like, what will happen after that?
Bro, I ain't gonna lie. You gonna get a case, but you ain't gonna get 5 years, bro. We went to the joint already, so we gonna get 5 years. You fuck around and get a couple months. This your first case, ain't it?
Yeah, hanging with the wrong motherfuckers, bro.
20,000.
20,000 ain't shit, bro.
20 million, bro. We need you. There's no other option, bro. We go to jail.
Baby Grizzly then called someone he referred to on the phone as T, who police obviously say was T Grizzly. And in this video,
Holy shit.
their voices do sound similar.
You got your phone?
Yeah.
Wait. Why is he handcuffed and this nigga not?
Bro, we in the back of the police car right now, bro. They found everything in that bitch.
What?
They pulled us out the car, bro, for nothing.
What, bro? So, the only thing that can happen right now, bro, is one of two things, bro. Somebody can say that was theirs, bro, or and they let the other two go, or nigga, I don't know. Because they gonna hit them PO up about that if you go in, bro.
I was in here just talking to Crave about that shit. Cause they'll just
He trying to pressure him to get that.
Yeah, bro. Somebody has to say that was theirs, or they gonna let the other two go. That's the only thing that can happen, bro. And I'll take care of the rest.
Of course, all of this backfired, as the entire conversation was videotaped by police, and federal prosecutors would later use the alleged bribery attempt to successfully argue for a federal prison sentence against Baby Grizzly. It was a frustrating moment for the Wallace family, but a reprieve would come when T and Baby Grizzly's mom was released from prison the same month.
So Ma touched down and he went in.
Despite this significant setback, there's one silver lining. Baby Grizzly is set to get out of prison around Christmas of this year. And when he does, he'll be coming home
he
to
said he
family
got about
who
5
have
years.
the financial means.
Why are
and the
you
power
riding
to help him get
around
back
with
on
this
his
shit,
feet
bro?
in a
Get you
way
some
that never would have
security.
been possible before First Day Out hit YouTube and broke the internet. More to the point, in 2021, Terry Wallace III was born, the son of T Grizzly. This young child may never have to endure the pain and struggles that his family endured for generations, in the Scud Zone and along Joy Road, in an environment that so many others had succumbed to.
in the house.
In the end, the transformative power of music and T Grizzly's sheer ambition transformed not just his life, but the lives of those around him. And that's the greatest blessing of them all.
Man, look, man. That's the story of T Grizzly. Now, I ain't gonna count. From what it seemed, it's just a lot of heartbreak. A lot of trying to get some money, but you're going the wrong way. Gang banging, of course. But he found his way, man. He started rapping. Now he doing the streaming. He got the Twitch service and shit like that going on. He's going crazy. He doing his thing. Yo, brother need to keep his ass out of jail. And I don't know, it might be impossible to find it. We're going to have to hit up 1090 Jake and see what's going on if T Grizzly was the one who told on that case. But because, like they said, it didn't go to trial, they never had to face their accuser. They just took their time and went on about their day. Now, with that being said, it's your boy Key checking in, giving y'all boys another visual. You know what I'm saying? Trying to run it up so I can get me some residual. But I ain't gonna keep playing with y'all, man. We checking out, man. I appreciate everybody. Make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe. I'm gonna say it one more time just so you get it through your head top, man.